All right, listen, if we're going to criticize, critique, and condemn, we have to get the whole information first, right? And I'm guilty of this in a lot of ways. Social media now provides sensationalism that we all knee-jerk reaction on things, and then we move on to the next sensationalized story just a couple of hours later, and we forget about this. I'm all about improving law enforcement. That's the purpose of this channel. I accept there's massive condemnation. There's fucking hate for cops everywhere. I get it. I want to take that hate, kind of be that funnel system, send it back to the police and go, this is what you're fucking hated for. I'm going to tell you exactly what the fucking hate means. And then hopefully you guys will take me as the villain and become the heroes that we demand that you should be. And we'll see if that happens or not. This is from Chili DeCastro. Somebody took one of his videos, put up. Chili just does what he does. He puts out a lot of good information, but he's inflammatory. I don't care for his delivery, right? This got me, though. So I watched this video first, and I went, you got to be damn well kidding me. And then I watched the video, and I'm going to break down. I'm going to play both for you. We're going to have a conversation about this. We need to make some changes.
This entire murder right here, this was because he crossed the street.
You're detained right now. Walk over there. What? We're crossing the street without a crosswalk. Go walk over there. I ain't looking for an apology. Come over here right now before I put you in handcuffs. I ain't listening to this. Come over here.
He's gonna pursue a foot chase for a guy who crossed the street. He's gonna chase him down and murder him.
Get the fuck on the ground. Running back towards Walmart.
Why are they chasing him like this? Is this where you want your money spent?
I'm gonna fuck you up. You're gonna get tased, bro. I'm gonna fucking tase you. Get the fuck on the ground.
What the fuck? What the fuck? So he murdered him as he was surrendering. Whatever it takes for you to go home safe at the end of your shift. That's the police motto in the United States of America, which dramatically lowers the standard of care. If it's about me going home and that's the most important thing, well, shit, you know? If he comes out with a gun, I just shoot him real quick.
Now, there's not a... Chili's not saying anything wrong when you think about it. There's a lot of validity in it, but I looked in the comment section because I'm like, damn, this guy got murdered. This is insane. And I looked in the comment section and people were criticizing Chili. We'll tell the rest of the story. He has a gun. I get it. We put content out to get your attention. You know, it jacks our views up. It's a narcissistic system that I am willingly engaged in a process in. But if I really want change, we have to look at the entire totality of the circumstances. It's what you expect from your police. So I'm going to implore you do the same. Stop, get sensationalized, even if I fucking provide information and do the research. This is from officer.com on the situation. I just want to read this sentence because I want you to understand how everyone, even the police you entrust, we only put out limited information for the consumer to absorb and process and form an opinion and then praise or condemn. SAPD, San Antonio police officer James Lopez fired over a dozen rounds at Jeffrey Schloop after he pulled out a gun while leading officers on a foot chase through North Side drainage ditch on December 3rd. Wow. Guy led cops on a chase and pulled a gun on him and cops shot him over a dozen times. Holy shit. That's a Hollywood movie, man. Well, this is insane. We need to have another Bad Boys made on this. That's where you read this, and that's where it stops. We need to look at the totality of the circumstances, and we need to watch the entire footage. Now, this is released from San Antonio Police. We're going to watch this, and then I'm going to give you a breakdown.
I'm Lieutenant David Bacareza with the San Antonio Police Department. This critical incident video release is intended to provide you with information as the department currently understands it about an officer-involved shooting that occurred on December 3rd, 2024 at the 800 block of East Rector Drive. I will walk you through the video relevant to the facts of this incident as we know them so far. Content of this video may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Just after 3 p.m., an SAPD officer in a marked patrol vehicle contacted a male and informed him that he was being detained for crossing the street without using the crosswalk.
1019 for AP vehicle. We're going to be on the right side of the parking lot.
Come over. What's up, sir? I'll go over to the front of my car. I'm not doing all that, man. Yeah. Come on. Am I under arrest? You're detained right now. Walk over there. For what? For crossing the street without a crosswalk. Go walk over there.
The male apologized, but refused to follow the officer's repeated instructions to approach the officer. He then dropped one of his backpacks in front of the officer and ran across the street into a nearby parking garage.
My arm, man. I swear.
Stop.
I'm sorry.
Dude, I ain't looking for an apology.
I'm sorry. I fucking you know, but I'm sorry, man.
Take off.
Sorry.
No, but this running.
While running toward the garage, the male dropped his second backpack and removed his jacket. The officer chased the male into the garage and announced on the radio that he had one running. The officer yelled at the male to stop, but he ignored the commands and continued running between cars in the parking garage until the officer lost sight of him. A second officer on an unrelated incident at the intersection of Loop 410 and Jones Maltzberger heard the officer announce over the radio that he had one running near his location.
What was this one? All right, I'm on my way.
The officer got into his patrol vehicle and began driving to the parking garage. Upon arrival, he located the suspect running from the parking garage and saw the suspect jump an iron fence. The officer stepped out of his patrol vehicle and yelled commands at the male to get on the ground, but the male ignored the commands and kept walking away. The second officer got back into his patrol vehicle and drove to the 800 block of East Rector Drive, where he located the male hiding in tall grass at the top of a ditch. The officer got out of his patrol vehicle and ran toward the ditch where the individual was hiding.
He's on Rector, going towards the ditch.
The officer then pulled out his taser and issued commands for the male to get on the ground, but the male continued to ignore police commands. As the officer continued to issue commands, he observed the suspect holding a gun, posing a threat to officers. The officer drew his gun and fired several rounds at the suspect, who had begun running in the drainage ditch. The officer also advised the other officers on scene that the suspect had a gun.
He has a fucking gun!
As the officer crossed East Rector and approached the railing, he saw the suspect in the drainage ditch raise his gun. Another officer on scene was yelling at the suspect to drop his gun. The officer then fired several rounds, striking the suspect in the chest. Here's the suspect running with a gun in his hand toward several businesses. This is the gun recovered from the suspect at the scene. Officers provided life-saving measures to the suspect at the scene prior to EMS arrival. Through the course of the investigation, it was determined the suspect, while in the ditch, shot himself in the head. The suspect, identified as 33-year-old Jeffrey Shop, was pronounced deceased at the scene by EMS. Investigations into deadly force are comprehensive and can take over a year. A reminder, this is our current understanding of the situation and could change as investigators gather more information. The San Antonio Police Department does not make any determinations as to whether procedures were followed until all facts are known. All officer-involved shootings are forwarded to the Bexar County District Attorney's Office for review. As of this publication, the investigation remains ongoing.
I'm going to give you my breakdown and my thoughts on this. It's as simple as this. Now, remember, there's no audio from the body camera footage. In Chili's video, we heard, the swearing. I don't care about the language for the officers. Drop the fucking gun. Fuck you. Do whatever you're told. I want to start looking at who these individual officers were, too, as far as initial contact goes. And I want you to keep in mind, I want to paint the picture of what it's like to be a primary officer and then the responding backup officers as we go, so that you really get the concept of the totality of the circumstances on a either high critical incident or something that is what you would call, we hear the public, I was stopped for no reason. This is where those stops go all the way into a death. When you think about it, Chili was right in a context of what he said. This guy's death was predicated by him walking across the street. I talk about it all the time. In the United States of America, you can be murdered by the police for having a light out on your license plate. We need to reevaluate how we police in America, and these are how we do this. Let's take a look at this.
SAPD officer in a marked patrol vehicle contacted a male and informed him that he was being detained for crossing the street without using the crosswalk.
Now, what I noticed in the video, you have to ask yourself a couple different questions. What was the reason for the stop? Was it a citizen complaint? Hey, there's a guy who's playing in traffic. A lot of times citizens, they don't the way they observe stuff is through emotion, and they relay that to dispatchers who give it exactly to cops. How they heard it from the people. Man, a guy's he's dancing in the middle of the street. He looks homeless. He looks crazy. They'll offer their opinion all the time to sensationalize it. They don't realize they're doing it, and it gets to dispatch. So I don't know what was the point of contact. Why did the officer respond? Somebody crossed against a crosswalk, dangerous, traffic, all that, concerned citizen, or was this officer initiated, right? The officer was going one direction, saw the guy walk across, and he stopped him. Now, the stop itself, of course, is bullshit. It's bullshit, but it goes one of either two directions, right? Man, I got to get my stats up. I'm low for my performance evaluation for the month. If I don't get X amount of points by the end of the month and the end of the quarter, I'm up for discipline. I'm in the brand new 2025 squad car, the Tahoe. And if I don't do this, they're going to put me back in the 2020 that's got no AC and the radio doesn't work and summer's going to be here in a couple of months. Shit, I need to get my numbers up. There's that pressure. Oh, look, there's John Doe walking across the walk. I want to sit there and kill forward. I want you to hear how this conversation goes as well, too.
1019 for AP vehicle. We're going to be on the right side of the parking lot.
I'm over.
What's up, sir?
I'll go to the front of my car.
I'm not doing all that, man. Come on. Am I under arrest?
You're detained right now. Walk over there.
For what?
For crossing the street without a crosswalk. Go walk over there.
Sir. Look.
The male apologized.
I want to talk about the way he was talking to him, too. My thought is that the cop knew who this guy was. He's a regular. They've had regular run-ins with him because typically, here's how you solve the job with law enforcement. Even if it's a citizen complaint or it's an observed violation, you say, hey, what's going on? Do me a favor. Come here for a second. Listen, you cross crosswalk. There was no light. You're in traffic. Do me a big favor. I don't need to be scraping you up off the pavement. Next time, do me a favor, man. Make my life easier. Just walk again with the signal. Would you please? Awesome. Have a great damn day. Talk to you later. Problem solved. Problem solved. That's how I would have handled it. Now, have I done crosswalk violations? Absolutely. I used to sit in my squad at a gas station of our town's main intersection, and we'd have people come down from an apartment complex called Cedar Villas, and I used to stop people all the time for walking against a crosswalk, and it turned up drug arrests, warrant arrests, you name it. So it's fish in a barrel, right? The easiest way to wind up solving this problem is you take away if you don't like what the end result is, take away what cops can do. You don't like the fact that somebody can die on a traffic stop from a light bulb being burnt out on their license plate light, then go to your state, go to your congressman and say, this law is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Get rid of this on the books. Period. You don't like the people can be stopped for this, put a bridge up over your crosswalk so they don't have to wait for the light. If you want to solve these problems, take away what the cops can do to initiate your death or arrest.
But refused to follow the officer's repeated instructions to.
I want a caveat on that. The reason I think he spoke to him this way is I think he knew him. I think this was a regular, and I think in his mind too, he probably went, man, I'm low on points. I know John Doe always has a bag of heroin on him. I've stopped him a million times. This will be an easy felony arrest, and I'll wind up keeping my status for the month. So that is my first thought of why. It's one of two reasons. Either he knew the guy or the cop is just an asshole with a superiority complex. I'm leaning on the first part.
Approached the officer. He then dropped one of his backpacks in front of the officer and ran across the street into a nearby parking garage.
My arm, man. I swear.
Stop.
I'm sorry.
Dude, I ain't looking for an apology.
I'm sorry. I fucking do know, but I'm sorry, man.
Take off.
Sorry.
No, but this running.
While running toward.
All right. I talked about this the other day, and I honestly didn't get to follow up with the case law. We were told in the academy, somebody runs from you, you can chase them, but it's based on the totality of the circumstances. If I'm in uniform and I go to the local grocery store that's in, a well-to-do area, and I walk up and I go, hey, how are you? And somebody runs, what can you chase them for? Nothing. But if I'm in a high crime, well-documented, a high crime area, I am a seasoned officer and I have the knowledge of the ongoings and I know the players and I know what's going on. And I walk up and John Doe sees me and runs. I can articulate reasonable suspicion that he has whatever. I better have some fucking facts to back that up. Why no reasonable person would run from an officer who approaches them, in a high crime rate. sadly, I think the laws may need to change on that because we see a lot of people being shot by the police. So it could be, yeah, I'm in fear for my life from the police, and that needs to change. Again, that was when I was in the academy, and that's when I was on the street. I don't know what the law is anymore on that. It's also suspicious that he drops his stuff and he runs. But then again, too, what's the crime? Littering? Drops his back. Okay. I'm thinking this guy is homeless. He's got so much stuff on him. I think he's a mental health, has mental health issues because of the way that he's interacting and all the stuff he's got, and his kind of actions and behavior, mental health. But we have to go back to the beginning. He committed a crime. So now police can chase him because he committed a crime, and the crime was walking across the street without a crosswalk. This is where I start, thinking, what did is the squeeze? Is the juice worth the squeeze? It's like, oh my, you're going to run somebody down because they walked across a crosswalk. I have a further theory about why they're doing that. Again, I don't know, but I'll point something else on in a second.
Toward the garage, the male dropped his second backpack and removed his jacket. The officer chased the male into the garage and announced on the radio that he had one running. The officer yelled at the male to stop, but he ignored the commands and continued running between cars in the parking garage until the officer lost sight of him. A second officer on an unrelated incident at the intersection of Loop 410 and Jones Maltzberger heard the officer announce over the radio that he had one running near his location.
I want to point this out. So here we have, on the same day at another location, another cop is stopping a pedestrian. My thought is this a detail they were put on? A lot of times the citizens complain and the mayor sits there and puts pressure on the chief. I've got a flood of people calling that the homeless or the pedestrians are crossing against a crosswalk and it's slowing traffic down, blah, 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 blah. And then that puts the chief in a position to dictate down to the command staff, hey, set up 2 cars, 3 cars on this day at this area. It's always a specified area between X and Y streets. Put up a detail, 2 or 3 squads, and stop everybody and cite everybody who violates that crosswalk. It happens all the time in America. There are details designed to do that for political reasons. Period. End of story. So I'm looking at that going, that's kind of sus. 2 cops stopping 2 pedestrians at the same time. I'm thinking it's a detail. That's just my thoughts.
When running near his location.
Now, think about that for a second. He just heard somebody's running and...
The officer got into his patrol vehicle and began driving to the parking garage. Upon arrival, he located the suspect.
So I want to look at a couple things. So you left your stop. You didn't finish running. I don't know if you finished running that guy. Could have had a warrant, could have been a murder, all this kind of stuff. But because he heard somebody else has one running, it's like a dog and a fucking dinner bell, Pavlov's dog. I can't tell you what it's like to be on a stop and then hear your partner running. I got one running, foot pursuit. And then you just, man, your heart rate goes up and it's like you get blinders on, tunnel vision, and you just are in go mode, man. You're speeding light speed down a residential side street to get to where your partner is because they called out they're in a foot pursuit. You have no idea why. You don't know why. Random. Why are you guys rolling up your sleeves like this shit? It looks unprofessional. Be a fucking professional and wear your uniforms properly. I want to start looking at 2. I don't know which cop this is. If this is Officer 1 or 2, because I haven't seen body camera identified yet, but I'm looking at bracelets and what they wear. So I don't know which one this is first, who is pursuing, but now you have information passing back and forth. As a responding officer, all I know is my partner has one running. That's it. What law do they break? If you told me, if you were forced to tell me on the radio, got one running, yeah, he jaywalked, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? But if it was got one running, he just blew up a daycare, yeah, now we're all going. So again, the what police love to fall back on when it comes to Graham v. Connor is the knowledge, the totality of the circumstances. What did the cops know at the time? So again, we saw the video. I don't know which one initiated shots or whatnot, but if this officer pulls up and the guy has a gun and he starts shooting the officer, Everything that happens before then is moot. It doesn't matter that he jaywalked. It's almost as if the cop put this man in a position for fight or flight, but that doesn't matter according to the police. It's use of force is in the moment. You have to keep that in mind. So as much as I want to condemn them for that, you also have to sit there and show that you have to defend them for it. Think about this for a second. If Officer A called out the foot pursuit and Officer B is the one that does the shooting and kills this guy, Officer B should take Officer A back to the PD after finding out the totality of the circumstances and beat the living fuck out of him for putting him in a position to have to kill somebody for a jaywalking. Hope that makes sense.
Running from the parking garage and saw the suspect jump an iron fence. The officer stepped out of his patrol vehicle and yelled commands at the male to get on the ground. But the male ignored the commands and kept walking away.
I like that. If this was this is where you start going, this is mental health. Because the guy jumped the fence, sprinted for 2 seconds, and now he's walking. This is where your tunnel vision, you need to try to, you have to turn it off and go, all right, there's something fucking wrong with this guy. He jumped over a fence, but now he's not in a serious need to get, he's walking away from me instead of sprinting. There's something not right with this man.
The second officer got back into his patrol vehicle and drove to the 800 block of East Rector Drive.
Okay, so that's my question. We saw one with a thicker bracelet. That makes me wonder if that was the cop who left the second man he stopped here. I can't see. Okay, if you could see in the bottom corner here, I see a thicker bracelet, which I did not see on the first officer. And when we get back to here, here's this thicker bracelet again.
His patrol vehicle and began driving to the parking garage.
There's that thicker bracelet.
Upon arrival, he located the
There's that thicker bracelet again.
Suspect running.
Okay, so this is the second officer who got that information over the radio from the initial contact officer. So this cop doesn't have all the information out there.
From the parking garage and saw the suspect jump an iron fence. The officer stepped out of his patrol vehicle and yelled commands at the male to get on the ground.
So now what we have is we have more cops no, he's not stopping from me. So John Doe says, I got one, run for me. Then John B says, oh, yeah, he's just jumped a fence. Now you have this escalation of intensity where the cops all start to fucking circle in like sharks over prey, right? They're all doing this. It's the wolves over the fallen buffalo. They're all going to start fucking taking it down because of what they're telling each other. They're all stuck in their bubble. And we give those cops, that's the totality of the circumstances. Graham v. Connor. It's what they knew at the time. This is a fucking problem. I don't know how to solve this. I don't, but I'm going to bring this to the light and reality to create a discussion because there has to be somebody smarter out there than me to figure this out.
But the male ignored the commands and kept walking away. The second officer got back into his patrol vehicle and drove to the 800 block of East Rector Drive.
There's that bracelet again. We just saw this is another officer. Here's another viewpoint of this is another bracelet. So I'm assuming this is the initial contact officer.
An officer got back into his patrol vehicle and drove to the 800 block of East Rector Drive, where he located the male hiding in tall grass at the top of a ditch. The officer got out of his patrol vehicle and ran toward the ditch where the individual was hiding.
He's on Rector, going towards the ditch.
The officer then pulled out his taser and issued commands for the male to get on the ground.
All right, this is my question. So taser's an impact weapon category for use of force. Again, I've talked about this a million times. When we first got the taser, dude, we tase everybody for everything. I'm not fucking kidding. It was a joke. I've used the taser 4 times. I fucking hate it. Personally, I think it's a useless tool. It fails half the time with the probes. If you live in an area like the Chicago area and it's winter and you've got layers on, the taser does not fucking complete a circuit. It is a foolish tool that gives officers a false sense of to rely on their tools. And I'm not going to lie, cops love to use it to punish people. They fucking love using it to punish people. If you mouthed off to us, put your hands behind your back. Fuck you. You got tased, right? We had it on the same level as pepper spray when I first started, and then it was raised over time to the impact weapon, like your baton. So my question is, this guy committed jaywalking Would you baton him? Would you take your Monadnock baton, expand it, or your PR-24, and would you hit him with full force body swing in the common peroneal to get him to drop, to put him in handcuffs? Not a fucking chance I would do that. Why? But I tell you to stop. You didn't stop. It escalates. It escalates. It escalates. And the courts will back them up. Well, you should have listened to the police. We look at the totality of the circumstances for the cop, but why do we never look at the totality of the circumstances for the citizens? Your Honor, my client was demanded and he was beaten after not obeying commands for stopping for jaywalking. The officer addressed his jaywalking. He apologized, acknowledged it, but the officer continued to harass and bully my subject, who felt terrified for his safety after seeing all of these police beatings in the news. And he ran. He was so terrified for safety, he left his personal belongings behind to escape the threatening officer's presence. We never talk about the citizens. We only talk about the police when it comes to the totality of the circumstances.
But the male continued to ignore police commands. As the officer continued to issue commands, he observed the suspect holding a gun, posing a threat to officers.
Holding a gun, posing a threat to officers. A couple different things. It's fucking San Antonio, Texas. Everybody has a gun. You should assume everybody's got a gun. Second thing, I make a full support of Second Amendment. All gun laws are unconstitutional. All gun laws are unconstitutional. I don't care what. You want to own a gun, 100% you should be able to lawfully. Taser, at this point, you're going to watch the transition. The cop, again, tunnel vision. And how I know that is the man seems to be walking away with a gun.
Holding a gun, posing a threat to officers.
Now, what's the threat? What is posing a threat to officers? Is he actively pointing the pistol at the officers? It doesn't say that. All he says is posing a threat. Well, holding it, that's a threat, right? Pointing it, that's a threat. So again, it's all subjective. It's all the totality of the circumstances. We have a lot of crap to look at here. He's at a big distance away, and the officer could sit there and go to cover. There's a big bunch of industrial construction equipment there. You've got cover and concealment, all this. Got your taser out. But the one thing that shows this is a pride shooting is it's not tactical. Watch what happens when the cops start shooting.
The officer drew his gun and fired several rounds at the suspect, who had begun running in the drainage ditch.
I don't know if you saw that.
Begun running in the drainage ditch.
I'm going to miss it one more time.
Who had begun running in the drainage ditch.
You could see over to this side of my head here, on this side, there's the yellow taser in his left hand. At the bottom of your screen is the pistol in his right hand. He's shooting at a subject who's more than 7 yards away. You're going to need two hands to brace that pistol. He's shooting at a suspect from an uneven position. He's got adrenaline dump. Heart rate is up. You're going to have blurred vision, tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, all the things they teach you. And he's shooting at a declined position with one hand at a subject. How accurate do you feel those pistol rounds are going to be at a target at that distance in that environment? I don't think they're going to be that they're not going to hit anything. They're not going to hit anything. So again, this is where use of force really needs to be looked at, because you have a shitty application of somebody who is now in that, I'm a dog, you're my fucking bone, the dinner bell rang, I'm going to get you. That's what this mentality is. It's pride. It's ego and pride right now. Now, don't forget either, you're shooting rounds and your fellow cops are showing up. They don't know anything. They don't know you just chased somebody down who happens to be a mental health subject. Maybe you know him. Who knows if the other cops know him? He's running from you. They're going to hear you say he has a gun. They can see he has a gun. You're shooting rounds. It's just spray and pray, man. It's just everybody jumps on the pig pile. We don't know what we're doing or why, but my God, Officer John Doe is shooting. I've got to shoot too. It's all a group. It's swarm mentality, hive mind at this point. Again, shooting at a moving target with one hand And I'm going to use the cop's words, the narrator's words against him in a second. So I want you to keep this in mind. We're going to revisit this in a second. He's shooting at a fleeing subject with one hand on uneven ground after having an adrenaline dump, elevated heart rate, tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, all that stuff. A high stress, the accuracy is going to be off, right?
The officer also advised the other officers on scene that the suspect had a gun.
He has a fucking gun!
Now, fleeing felon cases in Illinois, the way it was, and it was Tennessee versus Garner, Graham v. Connor changed the use of force status, or use of force standard. Used to be Tennessee versus Garner, shooting a fleeing felon. The fleeing felon ability to shoot you have to articulate that he was in possession of a weapon or whatnot, and he was about to become a dangerous threat to other citizens. In this right now, as of this, just pointing a gun at a cop, if he did that, we didn't hear that. We hear he posed a threat to officers. We didn't hear he pointed a gun at officers. Him shooting.
The officer also advised.
He's shooting him as he's running away for what? Do you have x-ray vision and you can see that there are people in that tunnel and he's running towards them? So far, the totality of the circumstances is this guy jaywalked, no violent crime. This guy dumped his bags, ran from cops, no violent crime. The man, I could argue, the man was mental health, fucked up in the head, felt threatened by police. He's being chased down. Multiple cops are threatening him. You pull a taser on him. He has that pistol to protect himself from tyranny. Now, I can't see this as you shooting somebody to protect the public that you put in danger. Do we not see how much of a fucking problem this is in America? You caused this man to choose his actions. And we never talk about this. We always talk about use of force. Well, the subject dictates it. Yeah, but what happens when the fucking cop is the one who pushes the subject over the edge? This guy would have never pulled a gun. So far, to my knowledge, never once did you hear he fired at police. You didn't hear that. You didn't fucking hear that. But what you heard is cops firing rounds at him as he was running away. What is the use of force? Where's the Tennessee versus Garner standard of shooting a fleeing felon? What was the felony that he committed? He held a gun. Is that a felony? I don't know. If possessing a firearm, because again, what do they know at the time? At the time, I don't know if he's a felon. I don't know if he's got a warrant. I don't know if he's a convicted and actually possessing a gun is the felony. The crosswalk, running from the crosswalk or crossing illegal is not a felon. Running from the police is not a felony. Leaving your property behind is not a felony. Disobeying police instructions is not a felony. Resisting arrest, which is what he's doing, is not a felony. Holding a firearm, possession of a firearm. They don't know the status. I don't know if Texas is, if you have to have a permit like in Illinois and all that shit. I don't know what is in Texas. Is that a felony? And has he demonstrated or exercised or said anything? I'm going to use a firearm I have to commit a crime. In my opinion, so far, the answer is no. What are you doing? You cannot shoot a fleeing felon. That's my opinion.
The other officers on scene that the suspect had a gun.
He has a fucking gun!
As the officer crossed East Rector and approached the railing, he saw the suspect in the drainage ditch raise his gun. Another officer on scene was yelling at the suspect to drop his gun. The officer then fired several rounds.
Now, look, here's a cop over here, pistol drawn. This guy's got pistol drawn. And then here. Now, when you hear the narrator talks about the fact that this man was running towards businesses, that's their justification for shooting. Well, we're preventing him from running into the local Walmart. I see blue here. Is this Walmart Auto? We're preventing him from running into the Walmart and shooting people and killing them. But you're the ones who put him in that flight where he could potentially do that. Not to mention the fact, officers, your job or your justification for terminating that life-threatening behavior by using your pistol to shoot him, to prevent him from shooting, you're shooting in an open area near businesses that you claim you're protecting citizens from this man from. Who's fucking protecting the citizens from you and your rounds that aren't going downrange? Do you see the hypocrisy? And again, I'm bringing these discussions up and somebody fucking needs to sit there and solve them.
rounds, striking the suspect in the chest. Here's the suspect running with a gun in his hand toward several businesses.
But so were the cops. The cops are, so what's the greater crime? The subject running with a gun towards several businesses who has posed and shown he has shown no fucking violence whatsoever. He ran from police. He's clearly mental health issue because if this cop had said over the radio, subject crossed at a crosswalk, he dropped his bags, he's disheveled, he is disoriented, his verbiage is very odd and confrontational to me, and he's running. Oh, he's mental health, dude. He's fucked up. But you say the subject was running with a gun towards several businesses. What are you saying about the police who shot one hand, uneven ground, adrenaline dump, heart rate elevated, tunnel vision, auditory exclusion? He's shooting his pistol at several businesses. Which is the bigger threat to the public? You tell me. We have to have talk about this. We have to have these painful conversations.
This is the gun recovered from the suspect at the scene. Officers provided life-saving measures to the suspect at the scene prior to EMS arrival. Through the course of the investigation, it was determined the suspect, while in the ditch, shot himself in the head. The suspect, identified as 33-year-old Jeffrey Shop, was pronounced deceased at the scene by EMS. Investigations into deadly force are
this is a bad shoot. But here's the problem. It's a bad shoot morally. But the big fucking problem is you can justify everything. All based on the initial crime committed, which is the jaywalking. Do you start to see, as a citizen, you want to take away the death of somebody in the totality of the circumstances? When you look at all the criminal actions, okay, this guy broke the law by jaywalking. He disobeyed police commands. He ran, raising their suspicion. He had a pistol, putting cops in a fear. I'm terrified for my safety. All this shit. Can we go back to the totality of the circumstances for the citizen? Yeah, he's mental health. He crossed at a crosswalk because it's more convenient for him because the guy walks all the time. He's got 30 pounds of shit on his person. He clearly was afraid of the police or had run-ins with them before, or maybe even this cop. He knows he's going to get harassed and taken, so he dropped his shit and he ran. He possessed a firearm because it's the state of Texas, and it's, I don't know, is it lawful to possess a firearm in the state of Texas? He held it because there's a swarm of cops. This guy is mental health. Swarm of cops are chasing him for crossing the street. They are chasing him. They are yelling at him, and he's got his gun because he's in fucking fight or flight. If we say no reasonable person would run from police in the totality of the circumstances, you have to say no reasonable person would be hiding in a drainage ditch with a fucking pistol to protect themselves against the police. Something is not right with him. Well, you want to put mental health in the street? No. I want fucking cops to grow the fuck up and actually smarten the fuck up and actually start going, what am I doing? To be honest, this is something that police unions need to look at and start going, the next time they go, we're going to have a detail up. We need to stop people crosswalking. Police unions need to step in and go, no, you're putting our fucking guys in a position to stop people for the shittiest stuff on the planet, which, as we see continually happens, will put citizens at the receiving end of police brutality or fucking death by cops simply because you want your numbers up and you want your constituents fucking happy. Police unions, where are you? Where are you supporting your guys by saying, man, no, we know how cops are. They're dogs with bones. It's their personality. It's how they are. Now you're asking them to do shit that's going to lead people to killing themselves or being shot by police, all because you want your fucking voters happy. I'm on the fence with this. You can claim it's a justified shoot. I don't know. I would let him run into the tunnel. I would barricade both sides off, and that's where you're going to have a big, NIPUS call out. But ultimately, now you're going to be looking at gun charges. And all. It's fucking insane when you think about the snowball effect. It's a snowflake, and it turns into an avalanche. And when you really think about it, this is where the use of force was escalated by cops. You can't say, well, the citizen chose escalated. No, dude, this was escalated by the fucking police. You stopped him for something stupid. You chased him for something fucking stupid. You pulled your taser out, which caused him to fucking go shitty and fucking do something stupid. we need to blame the police every now and then for the shit that they do. And this is one of those instances. So I understand when you get the inflammatory shit from Chile to Castro and everybody else out there. But again, stop, get all the totality. Hopefully my content really puts a spin on things. You can go, okay, I understand that. Because if we're going to condemn and we're going to fucking criticize and we're going to critique cops, we have to have the totality of the circumstances to show them, man, this is where you're fucking up. This is where we need to do better. End of story. I don't like this shooting one damn bit. Things need to change, and I hope that you can be a part of the change with it. See you live Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, where you guys can call in and we can talk about all this stuff, and be safe out there.